Welcome to another episode of ChoralEd. I'm your host, Micah Bland. Thanks so much for watching, and be sure to hit that like and subscribe button. Today, as we continue our series on selecting and introducing repertoire to your singers, we turn our attention to identifying potential vocal challenges in the music. And we do this for two reasons. The first is to decide if that song, or the song we're looking at, is of an appropriate difficulty level for our singers. And we talked about that in our last episode. Today, we're going to focus on the other element, and that is after you've selected a song, you look for potential vocal challenges to better prepare you for the rehearsal process. And then once you know what challenges you might face, you prepare some rehearsal techniques and vocal exercises to address those challenges in the music. Now, there are three ways to identify potential vocal challenges. The first is probably the most simple and most obvious. You visually look at the score and study the score to look for those possible challenges and issues. The second thing you can do is sing through each vocal part. Now, this is really important. This is very helpful because you can then experience for yourself where the challenges are. As you sing through something, you go, oh, well, that was a little difficult. What was the challenge there? Oh, yeah, it was the vowel shape, or oh, that was a weird interval. I've had a song before where I kind of looked at it, analyzing things, looking at the harmonic structure and so forth. It looked pretty straightforward. It sounded very tonal. And then, as I sang through each part, I discovered, well, the tenors on the last page had two instances of a tritone leap, which was very unusual for this very tonal sounding, very pleasant sounding song. And so that was a surprise. And so, of course, when we got to that part in the song, I told page tenors, we have a tritone here. We isolated that interval, we held those notes, so they were more comfortable with that. But singing through each part can really help you identify where those challenges are. As you sing through it, you should also try to listen or hear how your singers would sing it, right? Because we are professionals, so we can do certain things a little easier than our students. And so as you develop your knowledge in this area, you'll start to be able to imagine the challenges that your singers will have with each vocal line. The third element here is listening to other groups. Now, when it comes to score study, some people don't want you to listen to a recording at all until the very end. I agree with that. I think it's important to make your own interpretive decisions. The other kind of idea here is people want you to listen to high quality, great performances, so your ear hears that, and that's how you internalize what you want from your singers, that you have this high level expectation for your singers of your internal audiation of the performance of that you want. With that being said, it is very helpful to listen to all types of performances, especially those of the same age level as your group, so that you can hear what the mistakes are. When you listen to another performance that's kind of average, you can immediately hear, oh, there's a bad vowel there. Oh, that is not in tune. And then you ask the question, well, why is that? Why was that out of tune? That is our potential challenge. Then how might I fix that? All right, so that is a critical aspect of listening to other groups perform that same music, so you are aware of where the potential challenges might be. So the challenge with this episode is that talking about potential vocal issues is a very broad area. So what I'm going to provide you are some of the common mistakes that can occur and some very generalizations about these issues. With that being said, we'll look at a song here in a moment and kind of identify some very specific things. But in general, one of the common issues you might encounter is with range and tessitura, right? Extreme notes, high and low, are going to be an immediate challenge for our singers. They're going to want to strain, they're going to pull the larynx up. A lot of things are going to happen as they sing higher. Lower, they might try to push the sound too much. Tessitura as well, where does the voice part sit mostly? Is it way higher in the range? And so then again, they're going to strain a lot more. And so how do we address that? How do we prepare them for that? In addition to range, on extreme notes, you have to consider what is the vowel, what is the duration, and what is the dynamic. all of these can make it more difficult on the singer. Of course, the vowel, if we have an E way up there, well, it's going to pull the larynx up. E. We might need to go for an I sound. We're going to modify it too. If it's sustained for a long time, that's going to be a little more challenging than just a quick little eighth note up there. So what vocal exercise can we do to help prepare them for that? Same goes for a loud or a soft piano up there, or a loud forte up there. How can we better prepare our singers for that through different vocal exercises? The second common mistake, or not mistake, but challenge we might encounter is unison and octave singing. Now this one probably is a surprise to you because unison octave is easier to learn, but in terms of performance, it's more difficult because you're asking every singer in the entire ensemble to sing the same note. Sometimes you can hide poor vowels, poor intonation in the context of a chord, but when everyone's singing the same note, it is very apparent when things are not in tune. The other issue, and we'll see it in a song we'll look at here in a second, certain parts might be higher in their range where the other parts are more comfortable. For example, the sopranos and tenors are more comfortable higher in their range, where the basses and altos might be a little stretching a little bit and straining. We'll see that in our example here in a second. In addition to octave and unison singing, there's concerns of cross-voicing, where voice parts sing higher than others. So a tenor sings higher than the altos. And this throws off kind of the ears of your singers. And so being aware of those instances can be helpful. As you know, that might be a challenge. We also have large leaps and unusual intervals. I had a song recently where the last page had 2 tritones for the tenors. Did not expect that, right? It sounded very tonal, it sounded very pleasing harmonically. I did not expect 2 tritones to be there, and I didn't realize that until I sang through each vocal line, and so that was an important part of that. With younger singers, ascending vocal lines can be very difficult. This is because they carry what I describe as weight or heaviness in the sound. Right, a lighter quality of that's always going to be out of tune. As they ascend, it becomes more apparent. So ascending lines can be very difficult for our singers. The vowel choice, with English especially, we have a lot of different options of vowel and how do we pronounce this word. Divine, for example, right? There are many options, so you have to decide what vowel do I want. You also decide a vowel for any type of vowel modification on a higher note. Also talking about vowels, we have to think of the first vowel that we have. If we have an ah or an o sound, those can be often too back and swallowed. Ah, I love to sing, or an oh can be back and swallowed. How you start the phrase is very critical. It is near impossible to correct to the better once a phrase has started. I love to sing, that doesn't really happen. I love to sing, however you start, is the sound you're going to get for the rest of the phrase. And then once the phrase stops, you have another chance to restart again with a nice tone or better intonation. So that starting vowel is very critical, and those ahs and ohs can be too far back and swallowed. The last common issue here is consonants. There's a lot of possibilities with this, voiced, unvoiced. Where do you pitch it? How do you place it in the mouth? We're going to talk about some specifics there, but there's, again, way too much to discuss with all these elements. These are just kind of some generalizations about some common vocal challenges you might encounter. Now, moving to some music here that we can analyze these challenges and make some decisions as far as what is the challenge, but then how will we address that. And for this example, we're going to use "Oh Praise the Lord" by Ulysses S.K. Now, considering this song, we're just going to look at 2 measures, and within these 2 measures, these 6 beats, we can identify 7 potential vocal challenges. You might go, "Whoa, that's a lot, right? I don't have time to do the whole song, all 50 measures of it if there's 7 mistakes or challenges in the first 2 measures? Well, keep in mind that these challenges, one of them is for the entire song. Some of them will repeat later because the word repeats and so forth. We'll have the word Lord and a challenge on that, a couple of challenges there. And so these challenges repeat throughout the song. So in total, you might find 15 to 20 potential challenges in a song. We just identify 7 here. I also picked this one because there's a lot of challenges right here in the opening. Another thing to consider is that even though you identify multiple challenges, you may not have to address them, which is a great thing because that means your students have been taught well. Maybe you did some vocal exercises that prepared them for that challenge and there was no issue at all. That as you're singing along, you think, oh, here comes that vowel. Oh, actually, they did pretty well on that, right? They didn't have an issue. The goal here being you were prepared, right? You were over-prepared to address that challenge if it occurs. Along the same lines, there may be challenges that you didn't plan for that appear. And that just kind of goes into your experience log, and then you note that for future times that type of moment occurs again, you know, oh, my students have a challenge here, and you can be ready for that next time. So looking specifically at this song, Oh Praise the Lord. The first issue is throughout the entire song, and that's because it's a cappella. A cappella singing will automatically add 1 to 2 weeks to the learning process. This is because you got to really refine the tone, the intonation. It is all exposed. There is no hiding behind some piano accompaniment. The next issue we encounter is this octave leap opening. Oh praise the Lord, right? How do we address that? And the issue here being placing too much weight in the lower note. Oh praise, right? Do, 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 do. So you might do a vocal exercise that addresses that. Da dee da 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 da. Whatever you may want to try. I also encourage you to have them sing that note up the octave. Oh praise the Lord, oh praise the Lord. Do that 1 day, 2 days. As soon as they feel comfortable with that, you say, okay, now take it down the octave without putting any weight in the sound. Oh, praise the Lord. Right? Becomes a little easier then. The other issue we encounter here is that we have unison octave singing. Oh, praise the Lord, all ye nations. And as you can see, the bass and altos are higher in their range as they ascend. And so they're probably going to put a little more strain and tension in their singing, especially for your younger groups. I can also imagine the altos complaining about this, right? You know, it's too high, right? It's going to be a challenge for some of those singers in your groups. And that's the issue, right? That even though it is unison, it's easier to learn, the tone and the intonation is more challenging to align and have everyone do it the same. Our third challenge is that the song begins on an O vowel. Again, it can be swallowed back. Oh, praise. Oh, praise. How might we address that? Change the vowel. De, 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 de. Oh, praise the Lord. Have a more forward, bright O sound. Now, as this song continues, after the octave leap, it ascends even higher. Oh, praise the Lord. How do we address that note? How do we address the vowel on that top note? Do we want a closed O, Lord, or an open O, Lord? I'd go with more of the open O, more of an AW, Lord. This kind of frees the sound, modifies it a little bit. It's not so back and swallowed. So just be mindful of those ascending lines after that octave leap. Our last 2 vocal challenges are consonant-based. We have the L consonant and the R consonant. Interestingly, they appear multiple times with different words, and each time we're going to treat it a little differently. So the first L consonant, well, we have Lord. Let's jump to the all. Oh, praise the Lord, all ye nations, all ye nations. We just want to get rid of that one, right? All ye nations. I just go all ye nations without the L. We don't want to sing all ye. The other issue we have is on Lord. How do we pitch the L? If we place it further back, which is very common, it's going to be under pitch. Lord, Lord. So I'd have him place it right touching the back top of the teeth. That is an important aspect of certain consonants where you pitch them and place the sound more forward or back. Now, talking about pitching the L, should we pitch the L on Lord, Lord, or the Lord? You might say the first one. You probably heard that from some people, that you have to pitch that sound on the right note. Lord. Now, I agree with that, but the issue here being they're very likely going to scoop. And this is a technique I learned from Dr. Shivey. He talks about this in an article, in a chapter in a book, not an article, a chapter in a book, where when you ascend to the note that starts with a voiced consonant, you actually need to place that pitch on the preceding note. The Lord, and then the vowel attacks right on the beat. The Lord. If I try to place it on the top note, I'm going to scoop. The Lord, the Lord, the Lord. Unless I put a break in there. The Lord, the Lord. That's the only way to do it, if you put a break in there, which we don't want a break in there. So placing the L on the lower pitch. The Lord, if I do it quickly. Oh, praise the Lord. Oh, praise the Lord. The Lord, the Lord. You hear how it's on that lower pitch? The opposite is true in descending intervals. So if it was the Lord, Lord, that it scoops again. The Lord, the Lord, the Lord. If it were to descend, that's not the song, right? But that's just to demonstrate pitching the L on the preceding note, or pitching the voiced consonant on the preceding note. Makes all the difference. And that's a fine detail that a lot of people might not be aware of. And you hear that scooping, and you're like, stop scooping. Well, how do you stop scooping? Place the L on the preceding note. The R consonant, very common issue that a lot of people encounter. Interestingly, the first R we come to, praise, not an issue. Oh, pray, 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 praise. It's really hard to put an R in there. Doesn't really happen. However, on Lord, because it comes after the vowel, people want to kind of do that R sound. Lord, 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 Lord. So I would get rid of the R in that one. That's a very common approach. People sometimes just say, get rid of all the R's, right? But we need it on praise. I think it's an important one. And we need a little bit of an R. We just want a lot. Lord, Lord. So there you go. Those are some suggestions for addressing potential vocal challenges. And then the goal here is you identify the potential challenge so that you are better prepared in rehearsal to address those challenges. It may be that your singers don't have an issue with some of these challenges. That's great. You have trained them well. There may be other challenges that you encounter that you weren't prepared for or planning on. And so you have to reassess, kind of prepare later for that, to address that through a vocal exercise or some type of rehearsal technique. Till next time, thanks for watching, and I hope you continue to inspire the future leaders of our world through this wonderful gift we call music. Thanks.